62,347. 62,347. If you want to learn how to better attain the Sustainable Development Goal of wellness, there's a whole lot of things you can do to find out. There's a whole ton of books on the subject. In fact, if you go and look online, there are, anybody have a guess? Yeah, 62,347 books on wellness. That's a lot of reading. And so I'm going to try to save you from a lot of that by giving you a really simple idea today about how you can transform yourself to be someone who is actually on the path to being more happy, more healthy, attaining wellness, both for yourself and for your organization. I'm going to do so with a little bit of science, a little bit of math, and then at the end, I hope you like a little bit of magic. And the secret to the whole thing is probably super obvious, I suppose, to everybody who's attending here today at World Kindness Day, because the secret to the whole thing is, no surprise, kindness. Now, that sounds really easy if you're like me, who's a little bit of a cynic. You go, that just sounds too simple. And it's not easy, and it's not simple, but it is possible, and it is the key. It is the way that you can achieve it. So if you're a cynic and you don't believe that, I'll prove it to you. I'll start with some science. So specifically, neuroscience and biochemistry. So it has been scientifically proven that if you do an act of kindness, if you do a caring act, there is a chemical reaction in your brain. And it starts in the center of your brain in a place called the hypothalamus, and you create this wonderful chemical reaction that's called oxytocin that's produced. I don't know if you've heard of oxytocin, but oxytocin is a chemical. It's actually what is in mother's breast milk as they feed their child, and it is the thing that creates the human bond between the mother and the child. And we get some of that really good stuff every time we do a kind act. The brain's an amazing thing. That's not the only thing it does. It produces these other chemicals too. It's kind of like, I started thinking, it's like kind of like a kindness cocktail of all these chemicals that it puts in. So I'm gonna give you it's non-alcoholic. I'm gonna give you the recipe to the kindness cocktail. All right, so first of all, you do a kind thing, yay, and then you start with it, and you get a big dose of that oxytocin. Now that gives you self-esteem. It creates bonds. It's called the love hormone, by the way. So you get that, but then you add in a splash of serotonin. Now, serotonin, is the stuff that creates your mood and makes you happy. Still not done. A dash of dopamine. That's your pleasure center. So you take all this really good stuff. You got your oxytocin, your serotonin, your dopamine, you got yourself a kindness cocktail, right? Pretty good stuff, right? Every time you do that. And here's the thing. It is so powerful, the effect of the kindness cocktail on you, it is so powerful, it actually has a name. True, it has a name. It's called the helper's high. The helper's high. When you do a kind thing, that's what happens. There's only one downside. It doesn't last very long. Which just means we have to do things that be kind more often on an ongoing basis. And before we leave today, I'm going to give you at least an idea about how to do that, how to step up to the wellness bar and keep the kindness cocktails flowing, okay? I'll give you a little of that. Now, one thing you may be saying, okay, that makes me feel good, that's great, it's great that I feel good. How can I take that and bring it to the world, to bring it to my community, to bring it to my organization? And there's a couple of ways to do it. The first is as an individual, because I got to tell you, do not underestimate your power, your individual power to be able to spread kindness because of the way it spreads. Because science tells us, again, when you do when you do a kind act, yes, you get that great cocktail, it's wonderful, but the person who receives that act of kindness is dramatically more likely to do something kind to someone else. It's called the pay it forward syndrome. It happens. It is much more likely. And it doesn't happen linearly. It actually can happen geometrically. Here's the math part. It's not a linear progression, it's a geometric progression. And what that means is if you impact a few people, and those few people impact a few people, and they impact a few people, that it can have this ripple effect. It's like a positive virus that can spread. And here's how the math works. It's great. I love this stuff. The math is crazy. So if you go on Monday, you go in your organization, let's say you sleep 8 hours, I hope, if you're being well. You got 16 hours. You got 16 hours. Every few hours, could you do something nice? I don't know, 5 times? Every few hours? One time? One thing every few hours, you could do 5 kind things. I think you can. I think that's possible. And if you did, and the people who you influenced then did the same thing the next day, and those on them, by Friday, by the math, 3,125 people would be impacted by what you did that day. Do not underestimate the power yourself that you can pay that forward. Now, of course it's not that easy. It's not that simple. But the science says it'll happen, and the math says it's possible. It's not always that easy. I'm going to tell you why it's not that easy. I'm going to try to overcome it a little bit, but it's real. But that's the first way as an individual. The second way is impacting the organizations that you're a part of in a structural way, okay? And I want you to, just for a moment, it's so important to do this. I want you to imagine for a second this. Think about this. Think about if every organization you were part of, if every business you worked with, had built into their DNA, the way they operate, that kindness was actually built into the core of the organization in the way they operated. If everything did that, imagine what that'd be like. Or the one that makes me it amazes me, think about, what if it was our government? What if it was the policies? Imagine if we lived in a world where the policies that governed us at every level actually were built on a premise of kindness. What a different world we live in, right? It's that important. And what I'm telling you is that you can, as an advocate, and you should, as an advocate, whatever organization you're in, advocate for that, and it's not impossible. In fact, the opportunity to do so right now might be higher than ever because organizations right now are all seeking meaning. They are looking to retain people. They are looking for meaning in their belonging, which means if you step up and say, I want to be part of creating a culture in this organization, you are more likely than maybe ever before to be able to them to say, yes, you can do that. Now, I'm going to tell you, this is not a hypothetical. This is something I've done. My company, CBIZ, is a relatively big firm. We've got 6,000 employees. We're a professional service consulting firm. 6,000 employees. We are on the New York Stock Exchange. We are $1 billion. So it's a company that lives like it. We're capitalists, right? We're capitalists. We go quarter by quarter. We report our earnings. We make money. That's what we do, right? And I'm the marketing guy, right? I'm the guy who sells stuff. I'm not the guy who's supposed to make you feel good. No. I'm the marketing guy. But I have a passion for it, so I did. I advocated, and I said I wanted to be part of it. And so I was part of the group that kind of built the culture and put together the values of the organization. And one of them that I like, we built it on a foundation of kindness. Now, the word kindness is not used in our core values, but one of the examples I'll give you is a core value that we say, our people matter. Important note, it does not say our employees matter. People, humans, we value them, and they matter to us, right? And I will tell you, well, the word kindness is not used. It's pretty fundamentally impossible to value people and be unkind to them. It doesn't really work, so it's kind of built in, right? So here's how it happened in the real world. This is true. March 2020, the pandemic hit, right? All of us, everybody, we're all going, what's going to happen, right? We knew it was bad. We knew it was going to change, but we didn't know how long. We didn't know. So like a lot of companies, I don't know, yours or your organizations, we sat down and we said, okay, what are we going to do? What's going to happen? And we started doing scenario planning for, increasingly dire opportunities that we thought might happen. We weren't sure. But before we went off to do and figure out all the moves that we would make, our CEO said something that I will never forget. And he said, when we go do this, I want you to remember our core values. And one of our core values is that our people matter. So, we don't know how long this thing is going to last. We don't know what's going to happen, but we don't want any of our people put out on the street during this. So when you are going to figure out if we need to cut costs, if we need to do things, the last thing you do, the last thing is our people. We want everybody who wants to be here, however long it lasts, whatever happens at the end, to still be here. Because I'll tell you, in a company that makes a lot of money, that's what we do. In fact, we're a lot of accountants. We count money. We're good at money. But the idea of not taking the easy route, layoffs are easy. Ask Elon Musk. Layoffs are easy. They're an easy way to cut costs really fast, right? And we did have to make a lot of cuts. We had like everybody, right? We had a tough time but we came through the pandemic, and at the end, we were able, because of that principle, we were able to minimize the layoffs to get to a grand total of this many. 0. Not a single person who was laid off during the course of that, because we built in to the DNA of our organization the idea of being kind and treating people and valuing them. And I'm saying, if I can do that, then you can do the same thing too. So I'm asking you to do 2 things. One, to be not underestimate your power as an individual to be kind and pay it forward, but also advocate in your organization for building it into culture, because that's really what is going to change things. Now, I mentioned before about being a cynic, because I am a cynic. And if I'm a cynic, if you're a cynic, this is what I'd be thinking right now. Boy, that sounds good. That sounds so easy. Wow. It makes you feel great. You can, you can spread it, and companies do it. There's all this good stuff. So, but if all that true, I read the news, I look around the world, I go, if that's so easy, why isn't everybody kind? Why isn't there a lot more kind people? Or like flip this on its ear, and this is real, right? If it's so easy to be kind and spread it, why are there so many jerks? Right? There are. And there's an answer to it, and that's this. Kindness is easy when it's easy. It ain't always easy, right? Here's when it's easy. So you're standing in the convenience store, right? And little girl and her mom, the little girl, little cute little girl is clutching her ice cream cone. She's got the big eyes, looking at mom. She's so excited. And mom's going, oh my God, did I leave it in the car? Where? And she can't figure out, big eyes, panic. What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? I got this. Couple of bucks, little girl, she's so happy, cute little girl, ice cream. You got a big hit from the kindness cocktail. Everybody's happy, right? It's so easy, it's so great, right? There's a random act of kindness right there, right? Everybody knows about a random act of kindness. You're gonna hate me in a minute here. So it's great when it's easy. I love you, every one of you, for doing those random acts of kindness. And this is the part you're not gonna like. I'm gonna tell you, they're not good enough. They're not enough. They're not enough. And I'll tell you why. Because the random act of kindness are the ones that usually do happen when the opportunity presents itself that's easy like that. Kindness isn't always easy, right? Sometimes it's hard. Think about in your work, when you go in the office. Think about one of your coworkers. Probably not as cute as that little girl, right? Right? And sometimes, and maybe they're a pain sometimes. Maybe they're passive aggressive or snarky, harder to be kind, or maybe they're I got this guy who's in my office, always wants to take credit for everything. You know those people, that they find a parade and they get in the front of it and suddenly they takes credit for my ideas, for my work. And sometimes it's even more irritating than that. It's just little things. I try to be healthy. I get 1 Diet Coke a day. I love my 1 Diet Coke a day. So I bring it in and I put it in the employee refrigerator with my name on it on a Post-it, and I go at lunch. It's gone. Somebody took my Diet Coke. Sometimes before I even get to work, I'm going on there and some idiot cuts me off. Oh, sorry. Sorry. That's why it's not always so easy to be kind, right? It's not always so easy. Now, the thing is, we know intellectually how to deal with that, right? We all do. We know how to be, I can tell you, we can be understanding. We can be compassionate. We can put ourselves in their shoes and we can know that they're really not trying to do that. Maybe they had a difficult childhood, or maybe, they're stressed, or they got an argument with their spouse, or their dog chewed their shoes, or something like that. And we can, can be compassionate to them, and we can understand that. But that's really hard. because we're human and we react, right? And we want to, we don't want to get walked on and abused and all that, so we tend to react. So I am going to give you a trick, the magic part, for how to be more mindful of the opportunity to be kind when it's hard. Because being kind when it's easy isn't enough. We have to be kind when it's hard. And so I'm going to give you a trick for it. But before I do, I want to share you some words that I just love from some wise words from someone way wiser than me. It's on this very topic of when you should be kind. The Dalai Lama, wise guy, right? Wise man. He said this about when to be. He said, just be kind whenever it's possible. Because it's always possible. Right? Isn't that great? Just be kind whenever it's possible, but oh God, yeah, it actually is always possible. It's just not always easy, right? It's not always easy. So I'm going to give you a trick. All right, so, and I'm not going to do the trick, by the way. You're going to do the trick. And it's like every magic trick, you're going to need a prop. Don't worry, you all have it. And we're going to do it. You're going to do a transformation. You ever seen a magic show? They always do it. They transform. Like they take the magic wand and then it turns into a bouquet of flowers. They transform. You see that, right? Or they wave around the handkerchief in the air and suddenly it flies away. It's turned into a dove. You're going to do a transformation too, yourself, of yourself. It's not even going to be as hard as that, right? Because all you're going to do is make a little bit of a transformation of your mindset. But if you can make even a little bit of that transformation, this is what it's going to do. It's going to make you mindful when those situations come, when it's not so easy to be kind, which means you'll be more kind, which guess what? More kindness cocktail, and we'll keep that flowing, which means, honestly, you'll be happier and healthier and on your way to wellness and thus able to be an individual and advocate for that kind of a sustainable wellness in your organization. That's how easy the trick is. Here's how it goes. I look at this room. I think about people who come to a day like this, and thank you for doing so. And I figure this. I'll bet you there's not a person in this room who doesn't do kind things. Right? I bet you there's not a person here who doesn't do kind things. Thank you. Random acts of kindness, right? Not enough. I'm going to challenge you to transform yourself, or transform your mind a little bit, from being a person who does kind things to being a kind person. Doesn't sound hard. It sounds almost the same. But if you think about it for a second, it's a really meaningful difference between being a person who does kind things and being a kind person in their heart. But if you can make an inch of transformation in that direction, that's what it does for you. It will make you be mindful of those times when you want to be kind, but it's hard. That'll keep the cocktail, make you happy, bring you wellness, and make you an advocate for it. It all works together. So here's the trick. I'm going to ask for, 5 or 10 seconds of your time tomorrow morning. Will you give me 5 or 10 seconds tomorrow morning? Okay? That's all. So the first thing you got to do is you got to go get your prop. I don't think I've been to anybody's house here, but I know where it is. It's in your bathroom, and it's right behind the kitchen, or right behind the sink. It looks a lot like this, but it's a whole lot bigger, I think, right? You will use it tomorrow morning, won't you? Probably. When you get up, you will brush your teeth. I hope. Or you'll put on your makeup, or you'll shave, and you look at yourself, and I just want you to ask yourself, look at yourself and ask yourself that question for that day, just for tomorrow. Today, am I going to be a person who does kind things, or am I going to try today to be a kind person? And if you can do that, if you can think about that as you start your day, a couple of things are going to happen. First of all, you are going to start your day with a big old sip of that kindness cocktail. And you know what? I tell you what, it's better than the dark roast. It's better than the Frappuccino. It's a better way to start your day. but it will also put you on your path to being able to be kind when it's hard and to keep those good chemicals coming and to become a happier, healthier person so that you can advocate and you can take that out into the world. So that's all I ask you to do tomorrow morning. Remember this, remember me, and as you start your day, ask yourself for the day, am I going to be a person that just does kind things? Or am I going to try to be a kind person? Thank you.